Happy Wednesday and welcome to episode 52 of Keeping It G with G, the podcast. I'm your host, G. And first and foremost, if you're a first time listener, welcome to the podcast. I hope that you will find the words that I share behind this mic helpful in any type of way. I'm not a professional. I'm only speaking from my personal experiences and things that I have gone through and I have gotten through in hopes to help the next person. And so with that being said, for people who tune in weekly, thank you again for tuning in and showing your support. My heart is full of gratitude as always. So with that being said, let's get into this week's topic. So the past week, of course, with us being quarantined, and I don't want to keep talking about us being quarantined because that's evident, but with so much time in the house, I've been doing so much reflecting in such a good way, in terms of me just growing and becoming the person that God is intending and shaping me into being. And so I want to always share something weekly with you guys about my progress in hopes to encourage you guys to try to do the same with your own personal journey of growth. So this past week, I reflected a lot on being comfortable in my own company. And by that, I mean not always wanting or having the need to be around or be in contact with others, whether it be via phone call or text. I'm a person who loves solitude so much that sometimes I have to catch myself and make sure I'm doing it in healthy increments, because too much solitude can be dangerous. I've said that before on the podcast. But recently, because our asses are stuck in the house and it's easy for boredom to creep in, and we all know boredom in an idle mind is the devil's playground. And I talk about that a lot, so stay mindful and be careful of that. But if you're not careful, you'll be in and entertain situations that are in lower vibrations than you are out of boredom and feeling like you just have to be in the company of someone else or be in contact with someone else. And a lot of times your boundaries will waver with that as well if you're not careful and you're not a person that is good with keeping boundaries and staying consistent with keeping your boundaries as it pertains to your peace of mind, your energy, and things of that nature. But I'll get into energy in just a second. But I am glad to be at a place where I'm comfortable being in my own space by myself, healthily and frequently. And because I'm conscious of myself in this manner, this saves me a lot of time and energy from indulging in conversations, being in the company of people whom I know aren't on the same vibrational energy as I am. And I don't mean that to come off rude, but I'm very particular and selective about what I share, who I share with, and you really just have to be these days. My heart is super big. Like I always say, I'm a go-to person for a lot of people. And so I have to be very careful about what I allow myself to indulge in, what I entertain, and who's in my space, especially with me having baby girl. So like I said, I take protecting my peace and energy very seriously. It's never personal. I'm just selective about who's in my space as it pertains to myself and my daughter, because I can be and you should be too. And no one should be allowed to make you feel bad for wanting to be selective about your space and your energy. So I would really just rather be in company by myself than to be drained by conversations about nothing, be in company with people that aren't aligned with me out of fear of being lonely or boredom. And this is where I do a lot of journaling and I do a lot of praying about, because you just really have to be careful with boredom and not being comfortable being alone with yourself. And I know a lot of people battle mental health issues, so some people can't be by themselves for specific reasons. But if you're not someone who does battle with mental health issues, I want to encourage you to find the time to be comfortable in your own skin, by yourself, with your thoughts, in your own presence, and be mindful of the energy that you're giving off and the energy that you're allowing to be in your space. I encourage you to get into a state of healthiness where you're able to be in solitude in healthy increments, of course, to where you can get to a point where you're comfortable in your own skin. Like I said, trust me, when you do that and you do get to a place of consciousness and awareness, your spirit will reject connections you previously would enjoy to be in contact with or around, because your vibration is going into a higher being in a higher level, and that's okay. You outgrow things, you outgrow people, and the people that love and care about you will understand that. And if it's someone who are open to wanting to learn more about just being more conscious and aware of their energy and space, of course, bring them on the journey. But if this is a connection that your spirit is constantly rejecting and things keep coming up, and it's making you take 10 steps backwards, away from the growth that you have progressed on, then it's time for you to be mindful and be selective about your energy in your space, and do not feel bad about that shit. But like I was saying, your spirit will reject connections you previously would enjoy to be in contact with or around. You'll be able to follow your intuition more clearly and better. And lastly, you'll become a lot more aware of your energy, who's privileged to it, and what you indulge in. This shit sounds crazy, but I love spending time by myself. I get out when we could go outside. I indulge in social media, but I also know and can feel when it's time to reel it in and spend QT with G. And to a lot of people who don't practice this themselves, often to them, it probably looks like I'm acting funny or I'm ignoring them or what have you. Because when I feel the need to spend time with myself, my phone is on D&D. I'm writing, I'm in prayer, or I'm just in deep thought with myself, by myself. And that is just something that I pride myself on doing very frequently. And I do not mean any harm by it. But sometimes you can really just overindulge and get too full. But for me personally, so I have to take those moments to myself. And that's not a dig at anyone. That's just me. That's who I am. That's how I operate. But that shit keeps me sane. And I want to keep saying in healthy increments, of course. Too much solitude isn't healthy. I'm not a loner, but I like my alone time, if that makes sense. Especially when baby girl is down for a nap or a bedtime. This is when I really make sure I reel it in, get some reading in, some writing in, to get my mind, body, and spirit right and ready and prepared for the next day. And I encourage you to embrace and be comfortable with being alone in your own space, spending healthy quality time with yourself, because if you're not careful, you'll always feel incomplete because you're not able to be whole on your own. And this is not something that I woke up and perfected. This is something that I'm working on every day. I always want to reiterate that we're all a work in progress. None of us are perfect. But you should be doing something each day to be and become the best version of yourself. Even if you do make mistakes and you do fall on your ass and you do have a bad day, that's okay. You can't dwell on it. You have to take it as a lesson and apply it towards your growth. And I'm only saying that because I'm just like you. I'm not perfect. And that is one of the number one reasons, why I started this podcast, to let you guys know that I'm just like y'all. I just turned 30. I've been through my fair share of experiences in a relationship, friendships, family, stuff, motherhood. And I'm learning along the way, but I'm not going to dwell on any past mistakes or anything that I have gotten through or went through, because it's shaped me into the woman that I am today. And I'm still a work in progress, and I'm imperfect, but I love me for who I am. So before I get off on a tangent, because I almost went off on a tangent, but I just wanted to, reiterate that to you guys who are listening in weekly. And if you're a new listener, for sure, I just want you guys to know that from the bottom of my heart. So before I end the episode, I just want to recap on some of the things that I touched on as it pertains to you being comfortable in your own company. Number 1, solitude is healthy, but in increments. Healthy increments. Number 2, get out of your mind and get in tune with your spirit. It's okay to be alone and in your own company sometimes. Number 3, it's not a crime to protect your peace or your energy. It's imperative, and don't allow anyone to make you feel bad for wanting to shut out some things and have time to yourself. Number 4, it's okay to unplug from social media or put your phone on D&D. You can answer the text messages and the phone calls later, but to have time to yourself is very imperative. And the last one, number 5, no one else can complete you. You are already whole on your own. And that, my dears, is the episode. Thank you guys for tuning in. For the book for the month, I'm going to post it on my story. It's a book by the name of The Sacred Woman by Queen Afua. If you are interested in those type of spiritual books, that's one of the books that I'm reading right now. I'm trying not to overindulge in book reading, but that's one of the books that I am reading right now. So if you are interested in that book, let me know. I'm going to put it in the show notes for those interested. Be sure to follow the Instagram page for the podcast. Be sure to, check it out on YouTube, because I've uploaded some episodes on YouTube. Listen to the playlist and follow the Instagram and the Twitter. I think I said that already. And that's the episode. I will talk to you guys same time, same place next week for the next episode of Keeping It G with G, the podcast. Have a great rest of the week.